Why your mindset won't change until you do this shadow work. You've done the affirmations, you've journaled, you've watched every mindset video promising this time it'll finally click. And it hasn't. Not really. So there's a part of you, maybe you've never even said this out loud, that's quietly started to wonder if this is just who you are. If some people are built to change and you're not one of them. That thought hurts. But here's the part that hurts more, if you're honest. Some part of you might actually feel relieved by it. Because if nothing works, you don't have to keep trying. You don't have to hope again, only to land right back here. Here's what nobody tells you. Your conscious mind, the part doing all that work, isn't actually running the show. There's another part of you underneath it. A part that would rather you stay exactly where you are. And until you understand that part, your mindset doesn't stand a chance. You will experience the same pattern again. What if part of you is relieved? The affirmation trap. Here's the thing about affirmations, journaling, visualizing your best life. They all work on the same level. Your conscious mind, the part that thinks, decides, and plans. That part matters, but it's not the most powerful part of you. There's another part running underneath it. You can't see it directly. You feel it as your habits, your automatic reactions, the way you just react in certain moments without deciding to. This is where your shadow lives. Most people think the shadow is just the bad stuff, your anger, your jealousy, the things you'd never want anyone to see. But that's only half the story. Sometimes your shadow is holding your strength, your wants, your right to rest, your right to say no. Sometimes it's holding the part of you that needs help, the part that's tired of being the strong one, the reliable one, the person everyone leans on. And here's why this matters. If the thing your conscious mind is trying to change is also the thing your shadow is guarding, your conscious mind doesn't stand a chance. You end up fighting yourself. Working on your mindset without working on your shadow is like trying to drive forward with the emergency brake still on. What the shadow actually is. A psychiatrist named Carl Jung spent decades studying how the mind works. He gave a name to this hidden part, the shadow. He said every part of your personality that you were taught to reject gets pushed down, not erased, pushed down. Think about what you heard growing up. Don't be selfish. Be grateful. Don't be angry. Be the calm one. Don't be needy. Be independent. Every one of those rules, the ones that felt safest to follow, drew an invisible line. On one side is the acceptable you. On the other side is everything else. But that everything else doesn't just disappear. It gets stored in your shadow. And it's quietly running parts of your life from back there. That's why it's so easy to spot in other people. Someone in your life annoys you for no clear reason. Maybe they're loud about what they want. Maybe they're too confident. Maybe they take risks you'd never take. Maybe they say no without feeling guilty about it. And something about watching them just bothers you. That's you looking at your own shadow. It's showing up in them because you won't let it show up in you. Here's the part that matters most. Your shadow isn't trying to sabotage you. That's the story people tell themselves. It's not true. Your shadow is trying to protect you. Somewhere along the way, it learned that a certain part of you wasn't safe to show. So it locked that part away. And now, when you try to change your mindset, when you try to think your way into a different life, your shadow still believes that showing that hidden part of you would be dangerous. So it pulls the brakes on the change, not because it wants to hurt you, because it's still trying to keep you safe, using rules that are years out of date. Your shadow is what got pushed down. But here's something almost nobody tells you, and if you skip this part, none of the prompts I'm about to give you will actually work. The missing piece. Here's something I have to tell you because I've watched people miss it for years, myself included. You can do every prompt in this video. You can write down every answer perfectly, and still, nothing changes. Why? Because your shadow isn't locked behind a wall you can think your way through. It's locked behind a door. And standing in front of that door is a guard. The guard's name is fear. That fear isn't there to hurt you. It built that door a long time ago, probably when you were a kid, because back then, some part of you didn't know how to handle what it was feeling. So a younger version of you took whatever felt too big, too scary, too much, and locked it away. Not to punish you, to protect you. And here's the problem. Your conscious mind, the part of you reading a journal prompt, still doesn't know how to handle those locked up feelings. That's exactly why they got locked away in the first place. So the guard stays at the door, still doing its job years later, even though you don't need protecting from your own feelings anymore. You can't think your way past that guard. You can't outsmart it with a clever prompt. There's only one thing that gets that door to open, even a crack. Being willing, not forcing, not analyzing, not journaling your way around it. Just willing to actually see what's back there. Willing to hear it. Willing to feel it for a few seconds, instead of explaining it away or rushing past it. That's the real difference between people who do shadow work and never change, and people who actually change. It's not the prompt itself, it's whether they were willing to feel what came up when they did it. So before you do any of the 3 prompts I'm about to give you, I need you to do one thing first. Say this, out loud if you can. I am willing to see what's been hidden. I am willing to feel it. I don't have to fix it right now. I just have to be willing to let it come forward. That sentence is doing more work than it looks like. It's telling the guard at the door that it's safe to loosen its grip. Just a little. That's all it takes to start. Fear isn't the enemy, it's the guard. Willing does not equal forcing, but knowing that isn't enough on its own. There's one more thing working against you, and it's sneakier than fear itself. The secret payoff of being right. Here's something I have to tell you, because if I don't, this whole video won't actually help you. There's a reason fear so often wins. It's not because fear is stronger than you. It's because part of you is secretly glad when it wins. Stay with me here. If you try shadow work and it doesn't work, some part of you gets to say, see, I knew this stuff was fake. I knew nothing was going to change for me. And that feels bad, but it also feels safe. Because being right means you don't have to do anything else. You don't have to face the fear. You don't have to question what you believe about yourself. You don't have to change your relationships, your circumstances, or the story you've been telling about your life for years. Fear doesn't win because it's more powerful than you. Fear wins because part of your mind would rather be right than be free. Being wrong feels more dangerous than staying stuck. So somewhere in you, a part is actually rooting for this not to work, rooting for the old story to stay true. That's the real reason mindset work fails for so many people. Not because shadow work doesn't work, because a hidden part of them needed it not to. So here's the real question underneath everything I've told you today. Are you willing to be wrong? Willing to be wrong about what you believe you deserve, wrong about what you believe is possible for you, wrong about who you think you are, and who you've decided you'll always be. Because that's what's actually being asked of you here, not just do the 3 prompts. Prove yourself wrong. On purpose. That's the real game underneath the game. And if some part of you just felt a little resistant reading that, that's not a sign this isn't for you. That's the guard at the door doing exactly what I told you it does. Would you rather be free than be right? And ask yourself, are you willing to be wrong? Okay, now that you know what's actually working against you, let's use what we've got. First prompt, part 1, shadow work. Prompt number 1, the mirror test. Let's start with the first prompt. I call it the mirror test. Quick reminder before we start, writing an answer down isn't the work. Being willing to actually feel it and being willing to be wrong about yourself, that's the work. Your shadow doesn't whisper to you in words. It shows up in how you judge other people. So this prompt is simple, but it takes real honesty and real willingness. Think of someone who irritates you. Not someone you dislike for a clear logical reason. I mean, someone whose presence just gets under your skin. Maybe it's someone at work. Maybe it's someone online. Maybe it's someone close to you who sets you off every single time. Write down exactly what bothers you about them. Not the polite version, the real version, the one you'd never say out loud. Now here's the twist. Whatever you just wrote down, that's your shadow talking. If someone's neediness bothers you, you've probably rejected your own need for support. If someone's ambition bothers you, you've probably locked away your own right to want something just for yourself. If someone's anger bothers you, you've probably decided anger is dangerous and buried your own. This isn't about judging them. It's about noticing what they're reflecting back at you and being willing to actually look instead of glancing away like you usually do. Once you see it, the next step is permission. Say something like this to yourself. The part of me that is needy, ambitious, angry, soft, is allowed to exist. It's not dangerous. It's not selfish. It's just human. Then find one small way to let that part of you show up in real life. If it's neediness, tell one person you need support. If it's ambition, Spend an afternoon working on something just for you. If it's anger, let yourself feel it for 5 minutes without rushing to fix it or explain it away. The shift doesn't happen because you wrote something down. It happens the moment you're actually willing to feel the thing your shadow has been guarding. That's when real change becomes possible. What bothers you is what you hid. Once you've done that, there's a second place where your shadow is quietly steering your mindset. Part 2. Shadow Work. Prompt number 2. The life you never let yourself live. This one is about the version of you that never got the chance to exist. Same rule applies here. Don't just answer this in your head. Be willing to actually sit in it and be willing to be wrong about the story you've told yourself about who you are. Let me tell you a story first. There was a woman named Sana. She lived in a small village by the coast, and everyone came to her when something went wrong. She settled family arguments. She covered people's debts. She picked up the phone in the middle of the night. She organized meals and remembered every birthday without fail. The villagers called her generous, reliable. They said the village would fall apart without her. Sana smiled every time she heard it. But underneath, she was running on empty. She couldn't remember the last time anyone had asked what she needed. Then one night, a huge storm rolled in. One by one, the villagers showed up at her door, expecting her, like always, to tell them what to do. But Sana could barely stand. And that night, something in her finally broke. For the first time in her life, she said it out loud. I can't carry this for you. What happened next is the reason I'm telling you this story. The villagers got uncomfortable. Some got angry. One person accused her of turning selfish overnight. Guilt rose up in her chest, and she almost took it all back. But then something she never expected happened. The villagers started helping each other instead. The fishermen tied down the boats. The baker opened up his storage room. The younger villagers carried supplies to the elders. And the village didn't fall apart. Sana sat alone, listening to the rain, and realized something she'd never let herself see before. Being needed was never the same thing as being loved. Now, why am I telling you this? Because inside Sana's shadow was an entire version of herself she'd never let live. A version with limits. A version that got tired, that said no. That let other people find their own strength instead of rescuing them every time. That version of Sana stayed locked away for decades, not because Sana couldn't find her, because Sana was never willing to let herself look. And some part of her would rather have stayed the reliable one forever than risk finding out that story about herself was wrong. Your shadow is probably holding a version of you too. The part of you that wants to disappoint someone for once. The part that wants to rest without earning it first. The part that doesn't want to be the calm one, the wise one, the person everyone can always count on. The part that's allowed to be messy. Here's the second prompt. Where in your life are you living as a version of yourself that isn't actually you? Be specific. Where are you saying yes when you mean no? Where are you acting fine when you're actually hurt? Where are you being who you think you should be instead of who you actually are? Write it down. And then, this is the part most people skip. Actually let yourself feel what comes up when you read it back. Don't rush past it. Be willing to sit with it for a minute, even if it stings. And here's what your shadow has been trying to tell you. That unlived version of you isn't going to sit quietly forever. She's going to push back on your mindset work. She's going to keep you stuck in the same patterns because staying stuck keeps you small enough to fit inside the box you built. A boundary isn't the opposite of love. A boundary is where honest love actually starts. So your second step is this. Pick one place where you've been performing instead of being real. And be real there. Just one place. Then watch what happens. Your shadow holds the life you never lived. There's one more place where your shadow is steering your mindset. And most people never see this one coming. Part 3. Shadow Work. Prompt number 3. Permission to feel. The third prompt is the simplest one. It's also the one that stops most people cold, because it asks for the most willingness out of all three. Your shadow might be holding the part of you that needs things, that feels things, that isn't strong all the time. Most people think shadow work is only about digging up anger or jealousy, the dark stuff. But sometimes the deepest shadow work is just giving yourself permission to be soft. The part of you that wants help, the part that's tired, the part that doesn't want to be the wise one every single time. The part that wants to disappoint someone, to rest without earning it, to say plainly, today isn't a day I can hold anything more. A lot of people, especially people doing a lot of inner work, believe that the moment they stop being useful, people will stop loving them. So they keep giving. They keep bending themselves to fit. They keep saying yes. And underneath all of it, a quiet resentment starts to grow. Kindness isn't the problem here. But kindness without honesty slowly turns into a way of leaving yourself behind. Here's what I've learned. If you keep giving from a place that's already empty, part of you starts silently asking, does anyone even notice how much I'm doing? And when no one notices, it feels like betrayal. This is what happens when you don't make peace with your shadow, when you don't let yourself have needs. So here's the third prompt. Where are you calling it being a good person when really it's you ignoring your own needs? Where are you saying yes while secretly hoping someone notices you mean no? Where are you forgiving people while quietly keeping score? Where are you acting at peace because admitting your hurt feels too risky? Here's the key. You don't have to become harsh. You don't have to stop caring about people. But you may need to let yourself be real again. And that starts with being willing to admit, even just to yourself, what you actually feel. Because the part of you waiting in the shadow isn't a villain. It's just the part that's been waiting for permission to be human. So give it permission. Let yourself feel what you actually feel. Let yourself need what you actually need. Let yourself be human, which includes being flawed, tired, limited, and honest about all of it. Then watch what happens to your mindset. Now here's the part almost everyone skips. These 3 prompts only work if you actually do this next part, where the mindset actually shifts. Let me be clear about something. Doing these 3 prompts one time isn't going to rewire your brain. But sitting with them, actually being willing to hear what your shadow's been trying to tell you, that's where real change starts. Remember what I told you earlier. Your shadow is locked behind a door, guarded by fear. That fear was never trying to hurt you. It was trying to protect a version of you that didn't have the tools yet to handle what it was feeling. And maybe, somewhere in this video, a part of you wanted to prove me wrong. Wanted this not to work so you could keep the old story. The one where nothing changes for you. Where this was never going to be different. That's normal. That's fear. Still doing its job, still trying to keep you right instead of free. But you're still here. You watched the whole thing anyway. That's not nothing. That's willingness. Already in motion. Every time you chose that willingness today instead of rushing past the discomfort, instead of deciding in advance this wouldn't work, that door opened a little wider. That's not something you do once. You'll feel the guard show up again. Old fear doesn't disappear just because you did 3 prompts. But now you know what to do when it shows up. You don't fight it. You don't force the door. You don't need to be right about it. You just stay willing. Because your mindset doesn't shift when you think better thoughts. It shifts when you stop fighting yourself and start being willing to feel what you've been avoiding and to be wrong about what you thought you knew. Your mindset won't change as long as your shadow believes certain parts of you are dangerous. As long as you keep rejecting your own needs, your own limits, your own humanity. But the moment you stop pushing your shadow away and start listening to what it's been protecting, your conscious mind finally has room to actually work. That's when affirmations start to feel true instead of forced. That's when new beliefs start to stick. That's when you stop repeating the same pattern over and over. Because you're not fighting yourself anymore. You're becoming whole. And a whole person has access to their real power, not the power that comes from denying parts of yourself. The power that comes from being willing to accept all of it, even the parts that mean admitting you were wrong. That's where real change happens. Being whole means being powerful. If something in this hit you, I want to invite you to do one thing. Pick one of these 3 prompts. Just one, and actually sit with it this week. Not just answer it. Be willing to feel what comes up when you do. Be willing to be wrong about what you thought you already knew about yourself. If part of you is already deciding this won't work for you, notice that. That's the exact thing we just talked about. Write it down. Be honest with yourself. And let yourself see what your shadow's been trying to show you. If you want to go further, I built a workbook that walks you through all 3 of these prompts, plus more. So you're not just learning this, you're actually doing it. The link is in the description and pinned in the comments. But start with one prompt. Just see what happens. Because your mindset won't actually change until you do this shadow work and you do it willing, even willing to be wrong. Now you know exactly where to start. Be sure to subscribe for more videos.